Generation 5 was the last main generation that was on the DS line of systems, and in a way, Game Freak actually had tried to make this some of the best Pokemon games on the DS. From the story to the sprites along with Kyoto's, there's quite a lot to like about this generation. And let's start off what I like about these games, and that has to be the sprites. To me, this is some of the best sprite work and animation I've ever seen, at least in the scope of Pokemon and even, I guess, on the DS. And I think that in battle, these look really nice, and especially in the overworld, the Kyoto models also really look great. I especially enjoy how each Pokemon slows down when they're low on health in battle, because it's a nice touch to show that they're actually kind of weak, and also kind of affects them when they get a stats condition. Say if they were born, the sprite would turn a little bit reddish, and it's a nice touch. And again, the animation in it is pretty good, and just the sprite detail is also extremely good. Another thing I really did like about these games is how they handle the HMs, and other than like a few times in the original Black and White, which I think is only like about 1 or 2 times near the beginning, you don't really have to use them for story progression. They're only really used for exploration. And in the sequels, only Soul and Strength are needed, which is a major step up from Gen 4, because you had to use stuff like Rock Smash, Rock Climb almost constantly. And also, the HMs aren't really restricted by gym badges, so if you trade a Pokemon with an HM from another game, you're free to use it. This stuff I really did like, since it feels a lot more natural for the story to progress, and you don't have to waste a move slot on one of your Pokemon with a useless move. In the case of the sequels, Soul and Strength are generally pretty good, so I don't mind wasting a slot for them, but now you don't have to waste a slot for something like Cut, Flash, and other useless moves. Something else that was changed from the older games that I really did enjoy in this one was the TM system, and now it's changed for the better, where you can use them infinitely, and it makes grinding for the more powerful ones less annoying. This also allows you to set up movesets a lot easier, so you can see the best options for the Pokemon, and so you can just experiment with movesets a lot easier. Another big part of Gen 5 that I also really enjoyed was how the gym leaders feel more alive. Gen 4 also tried this, and it worked in small parts, but Gen 5 just improved a lot better since the gym leaders are now integral to the plot in some way. And it may not work with all 8 gym leaders, because the first pair of gym leaders don't really do much, like Silent, Chili, and those guys, they don't do much, but a majority of them at least help somewhat impact the story. I also did enjoy how they interacted with the main cast and villains quite a lot, like for example Elisa with Bianca, Borg and Leora try to get the skull back from the museum, and those stuff I really did like. I also did enjoy these moments just because again it adds a lot more to the big notable trainers, and they feel less like mandatory boss fights, which again I really did like. The rivals also do go in this camp, and I do like the development they had got. Sharon learns to understand that you don't need the perfect strategy to win, but you also have to trust in your partners. He learned this from losing from you numerous times in battles and from people like Aldo, and Bianca tries to fend for herself and actually try to better herself throughout the story, because she lost to Team Plasma and had her Pokemon taken away from her, and then her dad doesn't trust her enough, and then just she has other moments like that. The only other time we had a rival that developed was Silver, but it's not on the same level because he is his most subtle, and in Black and White, and in some cases Black and White too, because I kind of did like Hugh, but especially in the originals, these two developed throughout the entire story, and I really did enjoy their development. Then we have the post game, and in both games I think they're pretty alright, and especially in the sequels, but in the originals you have the whole other side of the region to explore, along with having White Forest and Black City depending on the version. Then there's finding all the Plasma stages, and you can catch a lot of the older generation Pokemon. The sequels add in being able to catch a whole bunch of different legendaries. Also, you can explore the other side of the region, and you also have White Forest and Black City, along with having the World Tournament. There's of course a bit more, but even then, I would still say this pair of games definitely has to have a pretty good post game and can keep you playing for a good while. No matter what, I've always had a fun time playing through any of the Gen 5 games. As an overall experience for a Pokemon game and just an RPG in general, I still think it's pretty fun. The battles are fast and enjoyable, the characters are fun to be around, and there's a decent amount of content to keep you interested. But what are some of the things that these games that I dislike? Let's go over that now. And one of the biggest things definitely had to be the pacing. You end up going through the entire left side, and all of it is just insanely quick. After Striaton City and beyond, it's just gym battle, big event, gym battle, big event, and I think that kind of sucks, because at least in something like Gen 3 and 4, where you actually got to go to towns that didn't have a gym, so you didn't really progress as fast, and that kind of just sucks. I know Generation 1 and 2 were like this as well, but those those were on the Game Boy, and again, Gen 3 and 4 did have some downtime, and Mo Towns actually had not a gym in it, and they didn't have much story relevance, which I kind of liked a little bit better in that case, since again, there wasn't just big events after big events. And I know the sequels kind of fixed this, with Black and White 2, but again, it's still insanely fast in the pacing. And another big part of Gen 5 was how much emphasis the evil teams had in the games compared to the others, and I do think it's a good thing, but in the end, it just turned out that they were evil for the sake of evil, and it was extremely clear that Ghetsis was the true mastermind, and their plan for releasing Pokemon was just a ploy to take over the world. I did like the idea, but again, it's just quickly turned into, yeah, we're just straight up evil, and the choice of becoming a Pokemon trainer never really went past that, and I just feel that if they went deeper into it, they could have just, made the story a lot better, but sadly, it's just not the case. Another thing that's still a problem is the diversity of the Pokemon that the trainers use. Like, for example, in the originals, you end up seeing a lot of the elemental monkeys, the Patriot line, the Blissey line, and a lot of the ground and fighting types. I do know the originals did have a regional dex of 156 or around there, but it still gets really tiring, to me at least, after the 4th badge. And the sequels did improve on this slightly since the roster is around the 300 mark, but it still kinda suffers from that. The evil team is no better since they always end up using the same type of Pokemon, like, Sandile, that line, and also the Patriot line, just, usually the same amount of Pokemon, just like the other games, which just really suck for me. But frankly, that's all the big problems I have with the game, and the worst that Gen 5 gets to me at least is how the plot is handled, but it's still pretty fun, and I think if you're ever going to play a sprite-based Pokemon game, you should play these ones. And that kind of just concludes the video, but as always, before we end the video, let's go over the likes and dislikes. Likes, great looking sprites, 8 gems or less force, reworked TM system, Leos and Rivals feel more alive, and pretty good post games. Disliked, really fast pacing, evil teams ended up being tropey, but they do have interesting ideas, which kind of sucked to me, and trainers end up using a lot of the same Pokemon, which also kind of sucked since, they haven't really improved on that for 5 straight games. But thank you guys for watching, and see you guys later, and remember to like the video and subscribe.